And welcome back, everyone, to Overtime. We have a big college football game coming up this upcoming weekend. It's Mississippi Valley State set to play host to Alcorn State.
Yes.
Home opener for the Delta Devils, SWAC opener for the Delta Devils and the Braves. We're going to talk much more about the game in the coming days leading up to it. But first, we're going to talk about a big part of the game everybody gets so excited about, and that is none other than the band. Valley State Band, Alcorn State Band, but today we're going to talk in particular about the Alcorn State Band and the world-renowned Golden Girls, which brings us to our guest today. She's not an original member of the Golden Girls, but she came a few years thereafter, and she is Mrs. Applice Franklin Lawrence. We appreciate you taking so much of your time out to join us here, Mrs. Lawrence, here on Overtime. Again, I said you are not an original Golden Girl of Alcorn State, but you came a few years thereafter.
Yes.
And as far as your memories of that time, kind of take us back to what it was like to be a Golden Girl, because the Golden Girls, everybody knows all about them across the Delta, all about them across the state, all about them across pretty much the country. A very, very popular dance line group, and you were not an original member, but came a few years thereafter. But tell us about maybe some of your experiences and what you remember about being a, and I guess I shouldn't say used to be a Golden Girl, you're still a Golden Girl, because I want to understand, once a Golden Girl, always a Golden Girl.
Yes, yes. The Golden Girls were young ladies who performed with precise movements, dedicated to entertaining those who were there to see. And we did twirls. Our movements had to be in sync, that we would be what? In charge of our focus as well as our points that we had to make in each dance routine.
So you were a Golden Girl what years again?
1970 through 74.
Now the history of the Golden Girls, take me back to that, because I know 1968 when they first started, and they made history as well, if I'm not mistaken.
They made history in 1968, and 69 came, the performance started, and I was the next year, 1970.
Wow, wow. And if I'm not mistaken, the first dance line that was a part of an HBCU band, the Golden Girls of 1968.
Yes.
So did that inspire you? Kind of tell me a little about what led you into becoming a Golden Girl.
Well, truly first, at that point, before 1968, they were made with the majorettes in front of the band. So I started wanting to be a majorette by observing my sister in high school. And I learned her twirling tactics. And from that point on, I began twirling, and I went from all the way through high school and all the way through Alcorn.
You mentioned that it requires a lot of dedication, sacrifice,
Yes.
determination, because your band director, he wanted perfection out of you, all right?
Perfection, yes.
What was that like?
It was like, it wasn't easy, very challenging, because what he wanted, he got. And if it took you staying after or getting assistance from others, then that's what you had to do.
Were there moments, because of the demands, because of the demand for perfection, that maybe you thought, I don't know if this is for me, but if not, what kept you going?
I had a purpose. And the purpose was to finish what I started. My father always said, once a task has begun, do not stop until it's done. Be the task large or small, do it well or don't do it at all.
Wow, and you followed that advice to the T.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. Well, I tell you what, Mrs. Lawrence, we're going to take our first break of this overtime portion, but when we return, we're going to come back and talk about the sisterhood behind the Golden Girls, but it's a sisterhood that even lasts today, if I'm not mistaken. All right, we'll be right back with much more. Mrs. Applice Franklin Lawrence here Not an original Golden Girl, but she just came just a few years thereafter, and she's looking so lovely in her purple, I might add. We'll be right back with Mrs. Franklin Lawrence here on Your Overtime.